Hi, I'm Nat.
And Candace Owens and Erika Kirk, they really got into it today.
And he's Guy.
Oh yeah, I'm Guy.
Yes. Exactly. And I think we have differing opinions as to how it went and what each person said, but we will get into that eventually.
Yeah, I think my opinion's slightly changing, and it's not. Yeah, we'll kind of get into it. Let's get into the first part of the story. We're gonna give all the updates.
Yes, because there has been some context that because we weren't on yesterday, that Nick Fuentes came out to say certain things, and then Tucker also did. So we will also speak about that. We will try to only speak about this for 30 minutes if we can, maybe 45 if it
No,
goes
because
long.
you didn't want to go on yesterday. We'll be doing 45.
Okay, it'll be 45 minutes. And also before we start, please don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help. It's free. And we are trying to get the channel to 1,000 subscribers. So thank you so much. But let's start with Nick Fuentes, and says, Nick from Ether Wave, quote, Nick rejects Candace's narrative of Kirk's death and praises Tim Pool for calling her out. Do you want to watch it?
Okay, yeah, let's get into it.
Nick, keep an open mind on Israeli involvement in Charlie's assassination. There are many fact and suspicious events pointing that way. Why are we stopped noticing when it comes to this? America first.
You're an idiot. Sorry. Thank you for the big super chat, but I'm sorry. If you're on the Candace Owens train, I'm not even going to pretend like I'm going to try to appease you. It's wrong. It's stupid. All of it is stupid, and I'm not going to entertain it at all. And I thought Tim Pool had an epic go-off on it tonight. It was awesome. I have never seen such a clear-cut case of an individual person being such an unnecessary detriment through sheer ignorance and irresponsibility. I've never seen it. Because you could say other people that have done things like Shapiro or Charlie Kirk or whoever, you could say they're part of a system or there's an incentive structure, they're playing by the rules, whatever. Candace is spearheading this thing, like she is creating this hysteria, and it is to the detriment of everybody. It is to the detriment of the right wing broadly. It is to the detriment of anyone that seriously talks about Jews in Israel. And it's to the detriment of rationality. It is the definition of hysteria. And I thought Tim Pool, very courageous, because I know he's getting shit for it, to say something about it. He had an epic go-off on it. Major respect for him. But yeah, no, I'm not with that at all. Thank you for the big super chat, but respectfully, no, disrespectfully, that is stupid, okay? And I don't buy into that for 2 seconds. Charlie Kirk was Israel's number. You say, why are we stopped noticing? First of all, why are we stopped noticing? You can't even write. You can't read or write. You're a fucking idiot. That's one.
Yep,
Two, nobody stopped noticing. Noticing is about paying attention to evidence. Evidence. Not scraping the bottom of the barrel talking about maroon t-shirts and looking at flight logs and finding any and every possible thing and throwing it at the wall to see what will stick. She says to Russell Brand, it's all connected. Brigitte Macron, Charlie Kirk, the war in Gaza. What a coincidence that everything you talk about is really all the same thing. You just knew it was going back to Brigitte Macron. So no, it's fucking bullshit. And, nobody wants to say that because everybody is afraid of this hysterical mob. I faced it before. I was right before. I'm right about this. I'll be vindicated. You watch. I'm done arguing about it. I've said what I have to say on it.
Okay, and maybe I'll make my opinions clear here. And my opinion is Candace is definitely working for British intelligence through her husband. There's just too many connections. There's too many question marks that are really being vindicated the more you look into Candace. I think Nick Fuentes is definitely working for an American intelligence agency connected to Trump. Now, the American intelligence agencies, there are actually different factions working against one another. So it's the interesting of all the intelligence agencies. Tim Pool has major question marks around his name as well. He's definitely connected to Vice News, which is connected to there's been rumors that they were connected to the CIA since he left there. He was on the ground in multiple color revolutions. I look at them as they're all connected to some intelligence agency in some way, shape, or form. The question is, which intelligence agency are they connected to, and what does that intelligence agency want on a broader spectrum?
And I will say it sounds quite far-fetched, but I will also say you shouldn't and can't trust any single individual on the internet, and we should have known, and we should know that. Be discerning as to what information they're giving, where it's coming from. But Tim Pool, I mean, he was a journalist, was Vice News connected to the CIA? Who knows?
Well,
maybe
then he was, wait, then answer me. How is he on the ground for three
because
different
he's
color
an
revolutions?
investigative reporter.
And
He
he's
was
just-
a war. He was a reporter of war. Of course, he's going to be there.
What other outfit was a reporter of war before Vice News, which Vice News was said to be the modern version of that? That was National Geographic's.
And CNN and all
Tim
of
News,
them.
Tim
Al
Pool,
Jazeera, which
and
I
you
don't
also
like.
have to look at Tim Pool's network. It's not like he's just one guy. He builds it out bigger and bigger, so it gives intelligence agencies more control over him as well. I think they're all connected to a different outfit. That being said, you're still going to have to pick an intelligence agency that you want the outcome with.
And I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying, once again, as with Candace, we need a little bit, maybe more evidence. Maybe there is more evidence that Tim Pool and Vice News and National Geographic and all of them worked for the CIA or are part of an intelligence agency. I just want a little bit more evidence as to how and why, other than they were reporting on war, which is what journalists do.
Yeah, I'm just that he's not just a journalist. Most war journalists are actually connected, especially if they're connected with a larger organization. That's what you have to realize. And it's not just war journalists especially, but photojournalists in general as well. So there's been enough evidence presented to me that all these players are intelligence assets. These are different intelligence organizations all working against each other,
Like
at
what
least
kind
in
of
my
evidence?
opinion. Well, we've kind of already gone over it. Candace Owens, her husband, there is a
That
long
one
line there.
That one I say is a bit closer to
Nick
reality,
Fuentes, we're
right?
going to go over today. Although I like Nick Fuentes, I like Candace Owens and Tim Pool. Nick Fuentes was at January 6th saying, rush the barriers, disregard the police. And then he gets uncensored after that rather than arrested. That looks like a point of leverage.
Oh, but what is it? Wasn't he debanked for a long time after that?
No. What happened with...
Because he's only researched in the past few months,
Yeah,
basically since Charlie.
What happened with Nick Fuentes is you have to look at these people are long-term, short-term, or mid-term intelligence agents. Tim Pool looks like a longer-term asset that came out of Vice News. Candace Owens looks like a mid-term asset, and she was turned when she married with her husband, who is actually the connection for her. Nick Fuentes looks like after January 6th, or potentially just before January 6th, he was turned in with some way, shape, or form. Now, you got to ask which intelligence agencies are they working for and what do they actually want? Of the three characters there, these are the three main characters. I'd say Candace Owens is working for the UK intelligence agencies, which are directly against... not just MI6, but they have a lot of three-letter agencies around the world that are actually connected to Mossad as well. If you don't know, the UK is actually the one that made Israel. Israel wasn't always a state. So the Mossad intelligence agency has most of their connections through MI6. So a lot of secondary intelligence agencies are connected to either the City of London or the United States intelligence agencies.
And again, I do think there are interests, be them corporate, be them money-wise, be them intelligence interests, for anybody that reaches a certain level or in a certain position, even just with sponsorships and who they connect with and what conferences they go to. I do think there's connections there. But again, I will say a little bit more evidence maybe.
Yeah, you're gonna always
actual paper trail
You're gonna
evidence.
always say that, and there's never gonna be enough evidence for you, so that's fine. And the reason I say this, and it's important to realize,
But I'm not saying it's not an interesting line of questioning or line of, how to connect all of the insanity we're seeing right now. And we've been seeing for decades.
the important thing to say here is when you know they're connected to these intelligence agencies, if Candace is connected to the UK intelligence agencies, they're directly against the America First movement and Donald Trump. And this has been known since the beginning of the Trump administration. They have been trying to undermine his administration. People like Tom Longo and the Prometheus Network all talk about the UK intelligence agencies directly attempting to undermine the Trump administration since before 2016. So I think Candace is going to come out with some spectacular finds. I don't think it's happening from her network of sleuth journalists. I don't think that's happening at all. I think she's directly connected to UK intelligence, and they're going to expose things within the US government.
Do you think that's why all her tips come from her emails hotline and from her, everything's an email or a text that she can't show to the audience?
That on
Because it's coming from intelligence?
Well, that alone on its face shows that It's not her email where she's getting all this information. She's probably got hundreds of thousands of emails coming into her from haters, from people that like her. She even said she had millions of emails from the last episode from her haters. She doesn't have time to go through millions of emails. Even with an AI, it's going to be hard to get through all those emails and identify which tips are proper. So she's getting information directly from an intelligence agency.
Or making it up.
Directly from an intelligence agency, and she has to make the general public feel like they're discovering it together. So because if she
Which is why she uses we and us all the time as well.
if she comes directly out with this information, people are going to be like, well, how'd you get this information? So she has to slowly connect these dots. So when the final reveal is revealed, people aren't going to suspect her to be incorporated with the UK intelligence agencies.
But I mean, I just think, again, that might be a plausible theory as to, and explain quite a bit more what's happening and then what we see over in Candyland and with Cantifa as well. But I think the other possibility is nothing big is ever going to come. It's going to continue down the whole, I make a whole show, an hour-long show with random historical things and just forget about all the other things I had plotted in the past episode or even months ago. And then just keep the story rolling and rolling until it either loses traction or she's completely dispelled finally.
That's the most dangerous view to have. People are picking sides on this one. I didn't. I always said Candace should ask questions. And if the government is dirty and another intelligence agency is willing to reveal things about the U.S. government, I want that to be revealed. I want their dirt to be uncovered. That being said, why your view is so dangerous is because when she does make the big reveal, then people are going to say, oh, she's legitimate, and everybody's going to apologize to her and come over to her side. So if you know from the beginning she's part of an intelligence agency and she does have a big reveal at the end, if she ends up being part of an intelligence agency and she has this big reveal at the end, people that took a side like you aren't going to be forced to apologize to her.
Aside. I'm just saying.
You have right from the beginning.
No, I said your theory is very interesting. However, again, we would need on the other side the same evidence as to why or why not is she an intelligence asset and what coordinated parts and how did the parts coordinate for her to continue doing it.
Anybody that follows the UK intelligence agency obviously knows this is about the midterms, and that's step one is the midterms. If they could stoke a color revolution within the United States, they would. They wouldn't be able to go all that way because the U.S. intelligence agencies are very aware of this. But even if parts of U.S. intelligence are working with MI6 or other parts of the UK government, the midterms is enough. They need to freeze Trump out. They need to stop this, especially with all the revelations and how he wants to treat the EU going forward. The UK just doesn't want that.
Okay. And we do have comments and we do read all the comments and respond to them because we're still not monetized yet. But Julia Collins says, I'm a conservative, but I wish Republicans didn't spend so much time watching and talking about someone who is openly a white supremacist and doesn't believe women should have the right to vote. I'm guessing Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes, yeah.
Well, I don't fully disagree with women not having them. I mean, we have spoken about maybe one vote per family and one vote per individual. And I do think there should be a bit more requirements of citizens as well to be able to vote.
Yeah, the reason I think it should be one vote per family, single people maybe shouldn't have the right to vote because I want people that are invested in the future of the country and make long-term decisions for the country. That's why I always say one family, one vote is a good way to go forward.
And Rafa says, hello, Rafa, we're just doing about 45 minutes of Candace and Nick and updates, and then we'll get into news from the US, Europe, and Canada. Julia Collins says, I mean, what are Democrats supposed to think when all our time is spent covering someone who openly advocates for bigotry and misogyny? He's an awful person. Giving him this much attention is horrible. I mean, we've only spoken about it.
I'll completely disagree because he's opening up the discussion and blowing off the walls of things you couldn't talk about before.
And free speech as well.
And even people that weren't racist or misogynist, that's the first thing the left would go to and call you racist or misogynist to cut out the debate because they didn't want the debate because they're going to lose the debate on a lot of other subjects. So they want to make this a sacred cow that as soon as you call somebody racist, that's the end of the discussion. So I like how he opens it up broadly. That's also why I like how Candace opens up the discussion broadly. She asks a lot of questions a lot of people don't want to ask, and she's continuing to ask the questions even when Erika Kirk says stop, which I like.
And which I find she's just cowering and weakling, but we'll see that when we get to those clips from today, eventually we'll get down there. Julia Collins also says, I wish every conservative show on YouTube wasn't just deep state conspiracy hours. So do I, but here we are. But again, and those are the same kind of questions that maybe should be asked. And where is the information that now we're consuming in new media coming from? Why are certain people propped up and others taken down? We have seen an increase of anybody that talks about Candace Owens be pushed, and we've even noticed it with us. We have been having more bots on our chat. We have been seeing an increase in views, maybe because there's legitimate interest, but maybe because there's also some sort of concerted push, who knows from who, to push Candace to the forefront, and Nick now, for some reason, after he was banned for a very long time.
You're always the person that says, well, I need to wait to see more evidence. It could be bots. I don't know. It's obviously bots. Our viewership's way out of proportion compared to normal. We usually have between 75 and 150 views.
I mean, I think we're a good show. We should be bigger, but
yeah, I wish we were bigger
rare.
too, but it's obviously we're being botted. I need the watch hours right now to try to get monetized.
Yes.
So I don't mind having some bots right now, so I'll report on it. I do find the subject fairly fascinating, especially if Candace does expose something, because she could be associated with intelligence agencies. There's a good possibility she's going to expose something big.
Or there's a good possibility it goes nowhere. But I mean, we're now invested in this as well, so I guess we'll cover it till the end. We did, and I wanted to start, and I kind of forgot because we jumped right into Candace. But today also is the 3-month anniversary of Charlie Kirk's assassination, and I think with all of this, you know, conspiracy and Candace and Tim and Nick and everybody at Tucker, we are forgetting about, and people, and they said this last time too, people keep continuing to stop and think Charlie Kirk was assassinated. What was the message Charlie Kirk wanted to do? What did he actually manage to bring to the American people with Turning Point, to young people, to like all the labor that he did and everything that he was able to accomplish in such a short amount of time? That's being forgotten in the whole conspiracy discussions and, oh, I care more about Charlie Kirk. No, I care more about Charlie Kirk. If you care about Charlie Kirk, also talk about his work. And I think that has been completely obscured by all of this. And I think that's a disservice just in general to not just his memory, but also everything he had been doing, getting Trump elected, for example. And we just continue to forget about that.
Well, I'm not going to pearl clutch like you.
I'm not pearl clutching. I was a huge Charlie Kirk fan, still am.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to pearl clutch. What I think, a lot of this does land on TPUSA. They need to be going out, doing public debates, putting this stuff on YouTube. That's why they're going away. They're actually opening up a housing division of TPUSA. Like, what are you doing? Focus on the midterm elections. Focus on opening up debates. Like,
but again,
it's kind of crazy.
It's been 3 months only. I think that is a very short amount of time, number one, to organize anything big other than the big memorial they had and they were able to organize. But at the same time, they do have to, you know, get the wheels
you said 3-month anniversary of Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said 3 year. Nobody celebrates months.
No, but again, if we're still continuing to talk about his assassination and his death and all the conspiracies around it, that's what Candace Owens is about right now, then also remember the man that she supposedly cares so much about.
Okay, we can continue to go into the next clip.
cares so much about, and Nick Fuentes cares so much about, and Tucker cares so much about. Everybody's talking about Charlie Kirk without actually mentioning or even remembering who he was and what his mission was and what he was trying to do.
Okay. God bless Charlie Kirk. Are you fine? Are you good now? Can we continue on?
Let's go back to Nick Fuentes. Sorry, Julia, that was just the next clip. From Fuentes updates, quote, the Candace mania has gotten out of control. Turning Point better bring their A game.
Oh, and this was actually the original clip I grabbed of Fuentes, and this is going to be fantastic because I think he's probably connected with an intelligence agency like Candace. Nick Fuentes has revealed so much about Candace, more than any other influencer, and now I think he's going to go into receipts and details. Let's let him talk about it, though.
Okay.
I saw on her Instagram today, Candace Owens did a multi-part story. She said, oh my gosh, you're never going to believe it. I just found something that changes everything. I got a new tip. God gave it to me, and it's brand new. And this is the evidence I needed. It's the final piece of the puzzle. Anybody watch the show? Did she get it? Is that the final piece? Did she prove it's a U.S., France, Israel conspiracy yet? Did she get the final piece of the puzzle? I didn't catch it. I saw the clips, and I saw a couple of tweets summarizing it. So I guess some guy from like the 80s was in Mexico and saw some other guy that had the same name as a guy at Turning Point. And that proves that Brigitte Macron is a guy or something. I don't know. I didn't see it.
Okay, pause it.
And I've never been a really big Nick Fuentes fan, but again, on this, I agree with him.
And it's not about the beginning of the clip. What he's going to say in the second half is the important part. And I think a lot of people are going to start asking questions about Candace. I had right from the beginning, even though I want her to ask questions and I want her to look into TPUSA and a lot of the other rabbit holes she's going on. That being said, she can expect to be looked into. And I think Nick Fuentes is the right person to do it.
When will it end? Blake Neff, if you can hear us, please save us. Tyler Boyer, please. Erika Kirk, can you finish this bitch off?
And we'll talk about that in a bit.
Figuratively, in the battle of ideas. Honestly, I was very critical of Erika Kirk. Now, it's like, can she please silence the idiot? Like, because it's got to stop. The Candace mania has gotten out of control. It has become a mania. It has become a psychosis and paranoia. She's a completely malicious actor, a compulsive liar, a disingenuous person. And I just can't wait for December 15th when Turning Point, they better bring their A game. They got a lot riding on this. And I'll say this much. I'm looking forward to the Turning Point live stream where they respond to everything. I plan on live streaming that. And depending on how they do, if they don't do a good enough job, I think I'm going to have to step up. And I think I'm going to have to expose Candace Owens for what she really is. I'm going to give them, they have the opportunity because they are involved in all this. But I am so frustrated with how people are handling it. They're losing. If Turning Point doesn't do a good enough job on December 15th, I'm going to have to step up. And just like I exposed Tucker Carlson and just like I exposed JD Vance, I'm going to have to step up and I'm going to have to blow the lid and expose everything about Candace Owens and reveal who she really is, who her husband is, who her donors are. And unlike her, I will be naming names. I will be coming with receipts. I will blow the lid on the whole thing, and I'll give her the Tucker Carlson treatment.
And that's going to be explosive. I think TPUSA isn't going to ask the right questions. They're not even, I don't even think really go into Candace. So I think Nick is already setting this up in a big way. A lot of eyes are going to be on social media on that day of that TPUSA event. So I think Nick's going to watch it. And then probably later that night, kind of go into an expose of Candace Owens or the next morning. And
the thing is, I think a lot of these things, and maybe he'll come out with, oh, she's MI6 and she's connected and her
he's not going to go down a rabbit hole like that because they want to make it seem plausible. That being said, Nick Fuentes, his long-term vision, I definitely don't agree with. It's this socialist Christian nationalist vision. And he follows the Pope. And I think the Pope is a leftist and a globalist. So I don't necessarily buy into his long-term vision, but his short-term vision, I completely buy into because he's the only one saying, yeah, well, the midterms, it would be nice to win them, but the more important thing for the midterms is actually to get America First candidates in there and to take over the GOP. So come 2028, we actually have a bunch of America First people in the House and the Senate. That revolution needs to happen, and it needs to happen now. So even if we do lose, we need to get America First candidates in there, and I think that's the right proposition to have. Candace Owens is saying, yeah, she doesn't give a shit. She's going to blow the whole thing up. And I think she's being fed from UK intelligence. And then you have Tim Pool that is just bending over backwards. We have to win the midterms, even if it means electing classic Republicans and name only rhinos, which is not the way because the rhinos will take back over the GOP once Trump is done, unless something is done in the midterms. They need to elect America First candidates.
I forgot what I was going to say. You went under tie right there. Rafa says, seems like Nicholas Fountains has some sort of hero complex. And I will say a lot of the information that has been coming out on X about Candace or things that people are just discovering now, maybe it's because I've been in the ecosystem for quite a long time. And I remember Candace when she was first coming up, kind of independently, but then through PragerU, and then she went into Daily Wire. Like, I remember all those days. And I remember, for example, that debate interview she had with Blair White and Dave Rubin, and how Blair White completely destroyed her. And Blair White actually brought a lot of the things that are like bubbling back up to the surface now that I think most people forgot. And that's why I have been skeptical about Candace for a long time. Not just she might be MI6, but just in general, what are her true intentions in the whole movement thing? And I'll continue to say I do think she was in love with Charlie Kirk. I think she should go make her husband a sandwich to prove that she's still in love with him, if she actually is, and leave Erika Kirk alone because she can't go make her husband a sandwich anymore. Now she has to be CEO.
Yeah, I mean, Candace obviously came from the left to the right. She had a lot of question marks around her, but that's not the question marks people are asking about Candace. It is her husband. Her husband is directly connected, in my opinion, most likely to intelligence agencies in the UK, and so is his father. And this is the big player on the board right now. The City of London and the UK Intelligence Agency has been undermining the Trump administration since the very beginning. And they would love for the GOP and the Republicans, in name only, the rhinos, to take back over the conservative movement in the United States after Trump is gone.
And with Nick Fuentes or Fountains being a hero, I mean, maybe he is, again, if they are connected to intelligence agencies or not, maybe he, I think, is the only one that would be fully willing, because everything has been kind of taken away from him, or apparently has been taken away from him. So I think he's coming from a place of, I don't even care anymore. I'm just going to say things. And I think other than Candace now, he's the only one in the conservative social media journalist space, I don't know if I'd call it journalists, that would be willing to fully, maybe go out there.
He's definitely not just saying things. He's very calculated in the things he says. He knows the long-term aspects and the repercussions. He was, of all the people that I was looking into, whether it was Tim Pool or Candace, Nick Fuentes was the most short-term asset of an intelligence agency when I looked at it, because of the way he was banned and for how broadly he was banned off of flights, off of banking, off of everything. There was a definite point right around January 6th where something happened. And then shortly after that, his voice was amplified and he's been completely unbanned. I think he does have a rabid following, but I also think the intelligence agency Nick might be connected with is the one that is loyal to Trump. So that's also why I'm watching Nick the most.
And Apollo says hello as well. Sorry I hadn't seen it, but thank you so much for being on RUMBLE. We're simultaneously streaming there as well, just in case.
And the reason I've come to the conclusion all these influencers are connected with intelligence agencies is that they're being funneled information about each other, about other aspects of other things. And it just makes the most sense that this is a war of intelligence agencies being played out through social media personalities.
But I also think, like, at conferences or with friends of friends, people do hear things, or people do, talk to each other in confidence, and then they break that confidence. Like, I do think that also happens. Like, a lot of them know a lot of things about each other, because when, I'm guessing, same as celebrities, when you get to a certain level, you can only relate and talk to other people that are in your similar position, and then you kind of hold something, kind of like blackmail. You hold something over them, and they hold something over you. So I do think a lot of them know a lot more about each other than they even say. Just out of courtesy.
Not the kind of information that's coming out, because it's not necessarily information about each other. It's information about Candace Owens' husband, who's really in the shadows. You really have to go digging for that information.
He wasn't super.
Also, the kind of information that Candace is revealing throughout her expose, and the kind of information I think that Nick Fuentes is going to expose. I don't think it's normal information that's known by other social media influencers.
What secret information has Candace revealed that couldn't come out from either her imagination or from an email?
They're waiting for the big reveal. They're connecting small dots for a bigger reveal here.
What small dots of information has she revealed that couldn't just be either made up or conjecture or arriving at conclusions that make no sense?
Oh, I mean, I'm not going to go into the whole thing. We can go through the 2-hour video if you want. I asked you to go through that. You refused to go through it. And look at the face you made.
I didn't know.
I don't have time to go through that. But you know what I did? I went and I found
a video. Wait, the ballistics one?
No, hold on. I asked you to go through videos and you refused to go through them. And then there was the video. I asked if you can give me a video of ballistics that showed that the bullet could do that. You didn't do that. I did that on my own. I spent 2 hours watching that.
There's a lot now.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that video later. And it's a video I found that you didn't actually back up the data.
But I did see it. Rafa says, at how many subs will you be contacted by intelligence agencies? Well, in my Spanish channel, I'm at almost 11 and still haven't been contacted by anybody. The thing is, in Spanish, I think, and I don't want it, but I do think if eventually my voice keeps getting bigger against in Mexican politics, I really don't want to be shown in the mañanera. That's not what I want. And I do have a friend who it happened to. But here, I mean,
Here it's too
for the states in Canada, I don't think they really care about us.
Well, for the English channel, God, it would be nice if somebody contacted us to get us monetized on this channel because we've been doing this for over a year.
But we would never accept that.
No, but on the Mexican channel, it's too dangerous in Mexico to be cooperating with intelligence agencies
No, with
whatsoever.
anybody.
Yeah.
And again, out of integrity, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Maybe you would.
Okay, let's continue on.
Because if we were, we wouldn't be able to say things like these.
Okay, let's continue on.
Speaking of intelligence agencies and somebody else that you think is an asset, Jay says, quote, wow, this is interesting. Tim Pool says he has been flooded with emails with shocking revelations about who Candace Owens really is, who she is working for, etc.
Did you put that video where Tim Pool was yelling?
It wasn't on the list.
Oh, I forgot to grab it. Yeah, Tim Pool absolutely lost his cool the other day, and yeah,
Righteous anger, I would say.
I would not say.
Because Candace lied about who shot his property, not just this time, but a while back, saying it was his brother. And now Tim might sue her. He has hinted at maybe suing Candace Owens for that lie.
I've gotten a bunch of emails, shocking revelations. And I've gotten people coming to me and talking about what she really does. And I want answers. I want answers. Who's she working for? Who is Candace Owens working for? Don't you think it's a little weird that YouTube is putting her on the front page, recommending her show to everyone, where she says the moon landing wasn't real? I thought YouTube banned conspiracy channels. What's going on? Don't you think it's just a little weird that her own lawyers work in the same building as the feds? That doesn't make sense. Why would Candace hire lawyers who work in a federal building? Or who work in an office building, with feds, I should say. It's a little weird, isn't it? I'm just asking questions. She refuses to answer. She has no answers. I think it's all very strange. Charlie Kirk gets murdered, Turning Point loses its leader, and then she comes to finish the job. She is a...
Okay.
And I will say they cut that clip really interesting because I did watch that whole episode, and for the Candyland minions in the back, he was obviously making a point and trying to sound like her and imitate her by saying, well, why aren't we looking into her?
But I will say it's very important that they start connecting these dots of Candace Owens and how she is connected to MI6, because she does have a big reveal. And right now it looks like she's going down the path of the U.S. government was involved in this.
She tried.
If they reveal that the U.S. government was involved in this, they need to be prepared for that. And the only way to be prepared is to connect Candace Owens to MI6, because what could have possibly happened, and I know it's quite the rabbit hole, but MI6 could be involved in the assassination and intentionally want to make it look like the bullets don't match up from that gun and a lot of other things to make it look like it was the U.S. government.
Now that is a big rabbit hole. We used to talk about news, actual news, and comment and then extrapolate from actual verified information we had. But I guess now we are just like every other podcast.
Okay, let's continue on here.
Because again, I am like, it might happen, but I'm leaning more towards Occam's razor. The simplest explanation, Candace doesn't know anything, is probably the correct one. And I just dropped my cell phone.
And I do love conspiracies. I go down conspiracy rabbit holes, and I do look at a lot into 3-letter agencies, whether it's MI6, Mossad, the CIA, and the FBI, and that's why I know a lot about it. Well, and that's why when I'm looking into this podcasters, it's just interesting the connections they all seem to have with different agencies, and they all want different things.
You know a lot about the conspiracies, to be clear.
Let's continue to go.
Another one that has been accused of maybe being an agent, and now not only by Nick Fuentes but other people, and he has now interestingly,
Okay,
completely
only
switched.
push the button when I know you're going to push it.
And now he has completely switched opinions just in general. I think he's forgotten what his actual positions are, is Tucker Carlson. So from when, quote, Tucker said he thinks Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. When asked about Candace's conspiracies, he tiptoed and tried to soften it, but still landed there. Even Tucker doesn't buy it. Of course, Tucker doesn't buy it. Even Tucker doesn't buy the claim that the French government assassinated Charlie.
Well, Tucker's very interesting because Candace is going down some real conspiracy rabbit holes and trying to connect long dots. Tucker's trying to separate himself from the conspiracy part while still supporting Candace. And we have two clips here, but it's finally come to the point where he has to separate himself from it a little bit in order to maintain credibility in case the direction
I think his
Candace is going
credibility
goes
was
wrong.
shot a long time ago.
I don't think it's shot at all.
He's
But I will say, hold on. Tucker is the one person, and his family is the one person that's definitely connected to three-letter agencies. Candace said it today on her show. His dad was working for the CIA through the media organization he was working for. The CIA is known to actually get intelligence agencies that are working for them to actually recruit their children into it after. So he's definitely on the path.
We've heard the counter argument against that evidence, and then citizens make up their mind. So that's our system. That's how we arrive at justice. We don't just assume because we heard three things on Twitter that someone is guilty and deserves the death penalty. Like, that is not justice. That's like African justice. And we just try not to do that here. So I don't know. It looks like this guy did it. From everything I've heard, it sounds like he did it. I don't know. I still don't understand the story. And I think that's fair to say. It's not unhelpful to say that. It's just true. Heard all the evidence. We've heard the counter argument.
And they also want Tucker to maintain his distance to say, oh, he was the shooter, because if they put somebody else, they want somebody to say, oh my God, you're right. So that everybody else will jump on the bandwagon as well.
But I mean, and with Tucker, he's doing the same thing. I think less insane people than Candace are trying to do, where they're like, well, why haven't we seen more information? Why haven't we, how do we know for sure? And it's because they're trying to build a case and they can't just release all that information publicly. If you want to go work at the agency that's doing the investigation so you have access to that information, go do that.
And first of all,
they don't, like right now, they're preparing for a case. They can't release a lot of the information they do have, because that could taint a jury, that could taint that could actually help the defense, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, you need to look at this as, this isn't just Tucker. Tucker and Candace are like this. They are two peas in a pod. They are at all the events together and everything else. So their stories are definitely being coordinated and everything else.
And I think right now, he's the only one she has left that even carries a little bit of water for her, other than Ian Carroll.
Oh no, I can name you a whole community of people that are actually on Candace's side.
Prominent.
Yeah, that are very prominent.
Tucker style.
Million subscribers or more. Multiple. Basically, the military faction is on Candace's side.
They came out against John X today. Everybody.
We can go into it. Jesse on Fire is on her side. There's a whole community. There's at least 5 people that I watch on a daily basis that are with Tucker, and then there's a whole other regime that are against her. I watch both sides, so I know kind of all the talking points.
Sure. Maybe you can get. What do you think?
I'm not big enough for my opinions to matter.
I mean, again, maybe, and we have been talking about the possibility of all of them being assets for a while now. But
yeah, my opinion is that they're all assets, and this is intelligence.
And that has been an opinion you've had for a while.
And
now.
Intelligence agencies are going against each other, and this is just, they're doing it through social media influencers. So
let's see what else Tucker Carlson has said on Charlie Kirk's assassination. I haven't seen this one.
In the 3 months since Charlie Kirk was murdered, I've really tried not to comment on the murder investigation in public. And it's not because I don't care, of course. I love Charlie and knew him well since he was a teenager. But I haven't said anything about it. I really tried not to say anything about it. First, because I don't really know anything that everyone else doesn't know. I've asked around, but of course, how do you know what the truth is? But the other reason I haven't said anything is because I know personally a number of the people involved in what's now become a very large story. I know them really well. And I really think a lot of all of them on every side. Candace Owens, I've known a long time. I love Candace Owens. Blake Neff at TPUSA once worked for me at a couple of different places, and I love Blake Neff. Erika Kirk, I've known since she was dating Charlie Kirk, and I love Erika Kirk. And I think these are all really, really decent people. And so it's been my desire for 3 months not to get involved in any of this. And in general, to think to myself, anybody who is earnestly searching for the truth, whether they're right or wrong, but as long as they're motivated by a desire to find out what happened and therefore honor Charlie's memory by getting to justice, anyone who's doing that, I'm not going to criticize. Again, no matter what track they're on, lots of us, and this has certainly happened to me, have good moments, but good motives, but wind up in the wrong place. But it's a sincere mistake. So that definitely happens. I have done that, and so I've just wanted to stay out. And then the other day, I had like a 3-hour conversation with Theo Vaughn, and it was not about Charlie Kirk or anything related to it, but that topic came up. And I said, in effect, I don't trust the FBI. And that gave some people the impression that I was, accusing them of being involved in Charlie's assassination. And of course, I wasn't, and I certainly didn't mean to. But it gives me the chance now to say what I think, which is that we should not necessarily trust the FBI. And by the way, why would we? It's not an attack on, the political leadership of it. I've known Dan Bongino, for example, for a long time, and like Dan, and don't imagine he would ever be involved in intentionally covering up a murder of somebody. I don't believe that. But Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, for that matter, are at the top of the org chart, but this is a huge organization, and parts of it act independently from leadership. That's the nature of bureaucracy. So saying, well, I like Dan Bongino and don't think he would do something wrong on purpose, which is how I feel, doesn't mean that I trust the FBI or have to trust the FBI. And again, why would I? If there's one lesson of the last election, the 2024 election, it's that a lot of our biggest systems, our biggest institutions have rot in them, and that needs to be reformed. And as if we needed more proof of it, we'd learned what a lot of us suspected for years, that January 6th was, in effect, a setup, and the FBI was key to that setup. And it's still not clear that everyone involved in that setup at the FBI has been fired or punished for that. So no person, no American is under some moral obligation to believe everything the government tells you, particularly institutions or agencies that have a long documented, factually documented track record of committing crimes, participating illegally in our political system, for example, as the FBI has done, manufacturing crimes, setting people up, distorting justice. That's the opposite of their job, of course, which is to get to justice through facts and then to tell the rest of us how they arrived at this conclusion, to prove to the rest of us that the right people are being punished. So we're not under any obligation. Of course, we shouldn't invent theories to discredit the FBI, but it's not enough to have government officials tell us, well, this is the truth. We have a right, probably an obligation, to say, well, can you prove it? And if you can't, I don't have to believe you. So if there's one thing that bothers me above all about the investigation into Charlie Kirk, is that is getting lost. As people argue over what happened, we are potentially letting our largest federal law enforcement agency off the hook. It is the job of the FBI to find out what happened and to tell the rest of us, not hide behind, well, it's national security, confidential sources. No, tell us what happened. Show us what happened. Convince us what happened. That's your job. And we shouldn't accept anything less. And by the way, when we do accept something less, then, new explanations fill the vacuum left by the FBI, which we pay to explain to us what happened. And so I'm going to really do my best not to talk about things I don't understand, state things as though I know them when I don't know them. I'm going to do my best to stay out of it because I love Charlie and I want justice to be done in this case. But the rest of us should remain skeptical. We have a duty to remain skeptical, and we should not be ashamed of our skepticism. Thanks.
And I really, really think they're setting up for a big reveal. They already have something. These are intelligence agencies working through Candace, working through Tucker, and they know there's something at the end. That's why they keep saying, ask questions, keep an open mind. They're going to have that big reveal after they lead you down this path. And then everybody's going to be forced to say, I'm sorry, you were right. And when they say you're right, they've then hijacked the America First movement.
Maybe. But I do think, he did get one thing wrong there, which is, it's not the FBI really doing the investigation. It's a Utah case. So the FBI is supporting, but they're not actually involved in the investigation, which is something a lot of people are getting wrong. And it's interesting that Tucker got it completely wrong.
Well, Kash Patel's releasing information, so obviously the FBI is involved.
He said they're cooperating and trying to help, but that it's not their case. So they are even they are not as privy to information as is the Utah State Police.
Yeah, but they're releasing information, so they are involved in some way, shape, or form, at least with interfacing with the public.
They're releasing, well, yes, because obviously they all knew him as well. So people look up to them to get answers or to complain about not getting answers.
People are getting evidence from the FBI.
but not all. That's what evidence have people gotten from the FBI?
The type of gun, the picture of the gun, the bullet.
That's coming from Utah State Police. They're the ones doing the investigation.
As far as I know, Kash Patel put a lot of this information out himself when he was talking about it. But maybe I'm wrong.
Because he was acting as the voice, as a messaging person, as a
Exactly. So the FBI is directly involved.
Yeah,
The head of the FBI is the one doing the messaging.
The head of the FBI 2 days ago came out to say this is a state case. The FBI is in a supportive role, but not investigating.
Because he started screwing up. That's why. Now he wants to step away from this fucking thing.
Effing thing. Rafa says, Nat, did you tell Guy that both your channels were in my YouTube recaps top 5? No, we were two of the channels that Rafa watches the most. And seriously, thank you so much for all your support from the beginning. I think you were one of the first people to ever write during one of my lives in Spanish. And then you came over to the English ones as well. And we actually couldn't really do it without Rafa because you really keep everything rolling. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's one of the guaranteed people we know is not a bot. Especially in the last couple of weeks, it's been a lot of bots making comments. So.
Yes. And I kind of wanted to put it on our Instagram stories as well when he sent it, but I also didn't want to dox him, so I wasn't sure if I should or not. But let me know next time if you'd want it more public or not. But honestly, thank you so much. And that's what I was going to say in that post. But do you want to keep going into Tucker or no?
That was the last Tucker thing.
I have another Tucker thing.
What was the next one? This is something I didn't grab?
Yes.
Oh yeah, just skip that.
Hey.
But there's a reason I try to keep it to a minimum for these particular stories because I wanted to get through 45 minutes.
I just wanted to say that it seems interesting, and you have been bringing it up as well, that Tucker has been switching positions, sides, forgetting that he's spoken to Tommy Robinson, forgetting that he wrote a blurb for Dave Rubin's book, and then saying, I don't know who Dave Rubin is, and has been changing in the past, month and a half, a lot of his opinions that he's held apparently for a long time. Yeah. And now even almost lying about people he does know and things he did know.
Well, before. I could definitely be wrong about them working for intelligence agencies. I don't think I am. There's just too many dots. But if they do work for intelligence agencies, whether it's Tim Pool, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens, of all those intelligence agencies and who they're connected to within those agencies, I'm sorry to say Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson seem to be directly connected to, in my opinion, to the MI6 and the UK, which would be the worst possible outcome for the United States if those dots are connected, whatever they're trying to kind of lay out here.
But moving on, there have continued to be questions, and you grabbed that video that you were telling me you have to watch, and I did watch it a little bit before you even told me to watch it. I knew it existed, but regarding the 30-06, regarding the gun, regarding what actually happened, can it go through human vertebrae and skin or not, and the whole conspiracy theory around that as well. But you grabbed this one, which is the one I think you were telling me to watch, and I did watch a little bit of it.
So if anybody watches our show on a regular basis, me and you were having a little bit of a debate, mainly because I'm of the opinion Candace should ask questions, and that's completely fine.
No, I'm of the opinion she can ask questions too. I'm just saying, give us a little bit to go on and what you're basing all your accusations.
Even if she has
accusations, which is different.
Even if she has nothing to go on, I still say give her room.
Oh, no, freedom of speech. Let her speak all she wants, but also let her be questioned.
Okay, that being said, if you can go back to me and you were having a debate. One of the big question marks was the gun and the type of round. It should have went right through Charlie's neck. At least that's what a lot of people think. I asked you to find me a video and show me these videos. You couldn't find me a video, so I could find it. So I went and I found one myself. Now, I do apologize. This is probably an hour video. It's really long to watch, but this is the best video you can find.
Not the only one.
This by far, and everybody that is doing research on both sides say this is the best video if you want to think the story the government is telling you, at least with the type of gun and the bullet that was used. Could it actually do what the government is saying? He couldn't make it actually happen in the video, but he has given the best explanations. Well, the one big funny thing about this video is he has a really heavy French accent. So I'm sure Candace would make fun of him for that and call him French Foreign Legion.
Well, and I do have another example of a good video if you are interested in the whole gun neck vertebra thing, which is by Phoenix Ammunition. They actually do a lot of things that have to do with guns. And, oh God, I forgot the name. Paramount Tactical. Both of them have also been disproving a lot of the theories and a lot of the videos that say there's no way what they're saying is true. They have been able to disprove via physics and math a lot of the theories that, oh, there's no way that it could be
and let me just go into it. The big theory of how the bullet didn't go through his neck, and he did give some compelling evidence, is when the bullet goes into the neck, the skin can make it twist, and before it goes out the exit skin, because it's not straight anymore, it won't be able to penetrate the skin, and it will ricochet back into the body. And he actually did go through the Charlie Kirk clip. So if you do watch this video, make sure you watch it on X, because he was actually able to show the exact frame where the bullet tried to go through the back of the neck, stretch the neck, and then came back in, at least in his opinion. So it was fairly compelling evidence.
Okay, so let me just say the name and kind of read what he says. From Jean-François Gariepi, I guess. I found what happened to the bullet in Charlie Kirk's neck. I am challenging Ian Carroll, who has been trying to disprove all of this, to review the evidence I present in this video and change his view on his positions that 30-06 is inconsistent with the injuries of Charlie. So his on X, he is at JF Gariepy.
And what else he did show were hunters
this is the video.
and posts from hunters. It's too long, you can't show it all.
No, but I wanted people to see the video.
Was hunters and posts from hunters where they actually used a 30-06 and it didn't penetrate through the animal, specifically because the way what the bullet did when it went in, it penetrated the first layer of skin, but when it went to exit, because the bullet was flat, it wasn't able to penetrate and would ricochet back into the animal. He's saying it's common. I watched a lot of the other videos, so we'll kind of leave it at that. I do want to show both sides of the evidence, though. So,
and another one that has been helping disprove a lot of this is an ammunition maker called Phoenix Ammunition, and he has a whole ballistics review of the Charlie Kirk assassination and why Candace Owens is an idiot, explaining with physics and with how all the variables that people are trying to control for aren't actually able to be fully controlled for in the environments that they're trying to do these tests, and why they will basically always fail. So if you're also interested in that, it's at Phoenix Ammunition. And we have seen with Phoenix Ammunition, Paramount Tactical, and a lot of other ex-military people or people that work with guns or have gun stores or make ammunition come out to actually now speak about all of the theories and the disproving or proving that people are trying to do and why they're wrong. So it is interesting to see them kind of all forming and coming up and helping each other once again help disprove the conspiracies as well.
Yeah, and I think there's very compelling evidence on both sides in this particular case. I was on the one side, but when I looked at that particular video we showed you a minute ago, he had compelling evidence as well. So there's compelling evidence on both sides. I do tell people to go watch both sides. Don't just watch one side and be convinced.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll have to wait until the trial and we actually get the ballistics people.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not so sure about that.
Rafa says, no worries, you can repost whatever I tag you in. Okay, good to know. Thank you. You can repost it and I'll repost it tonight if you want. And Rafa says, I could bet my yearly bonus that Luke Rukowski is clean from being an asset. Yes, I think he probably is.
Yeah.
Would you say he's clean? Or would you also call him an asset?
Yeah, well, I also think Luke Rukowski is fairly small compared to a lot of other creators, and he didn't have the same rise. And when you look through people's past social media, you can see an inorganic rise. You can also look through their comments and other things. And I was actually watching surprisingly a former U.S. colonel that investigated social media influencers and their connections to three-letter agencies. And that's kind of what really started really convincing me, because I already had that theory before I watched that. But after that, I was like, yeah, there's just too many dots already connected there with all these social media influencers. So.
And getting into the topic that was, well, it's the same topic, but getting into the story that was on our cover an hour in. So sorry about that. From Paramount Tactical, who I was just saying, go check out Paramount Tactical as well. Gary Mountain, he says, you grabbed this one. What do you mean?
Oh, okay.
This is a message directly to...
I thought you were going to go into more ballistics, and I was like,
no.
we've gone down that road.
He's also been investigating a lot of the other claims. If you're interested in his YouTube channel and his X, But he says this is a message directly to Candace Owens from Erika Kirk. It couldn't be more clear. And this one was from yesterday. Candace Owens. Erika Kirk has been making the rounds because they are now releasing posthumously, which Candace couldn't say today, Charlie Kirk's book. So she is doing a lot of the interviews in the name of her husband, who's no longer with us.
And but the surprising thing, what's the book about?
The Sabbath.
The Sabbath. Okay.
That was taking. Okay, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
We have a trial coming up. Unfortunately, that trial is in a long time. What I want to be mindful of for people is that this was a murder. This is not something that, what I don't want to have happen is for this to taint the jury pool. I don't. I want my husband, I want justice for my husband more than any other person on the internet, any other person in this world. That was my husband and the father to my kids. We will make sure, and we have been, turning over every single stone, going down every single lead. So when these people say, oh, they haven't talked about this or done that, how do you know? You're not in those meetings with the attorneys and the prosecutors. You have no idea. And why would we share that information with the internet to what? Then give the defense more stuff that's not true? Like, it's just, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the truth is the truth.
Okay, and I've already called out Candace Owens, Tim Pool, Nick Fuentes, all for being assets, and I definitely think Erika Kirk is as well. Her father was the head of Raytheon Israel. In my opinion, it's just undeniable. There was trillion-dollar contracts and a lot of money involved there.
But something that I will say that is pretty clear and evident is that, again, Candace Owens was probably, I'm just speculating, but probably either in love or heartbroken by Charlie Kirk. And it does seem that this Avengers thing she's trying to do is clearly going against, because that's why Erika is saying, that's my husband. He's a father to my children. Like, she's making it very clear.
Of all the videos I watched of Erika Kirk giving these interviews, that was the one that looked somewhat authentic. Every other video, she doesn't look authentic to me. She's not a likable person.
How do you think I would react if you were?
Yeah.
If you weren't here?
Well, I'm just saying she's not.
And I had to be a public figure.
She shouldn't be a public figure. She shouldn't be taking over to the USA. She doesn't have to.
She had to. That's what Charlie Kirk wanted.
They could put an interim
but she wanted to come out as, I'm strong, I'm going to do it.
Okay, what I'm saying is she's not likable.
And initially you said she should have been picked.
She's a former actress, but she can't act.
Do you remember, because she's not acting, do you remember initially when you said they should put Erika Kirk as CEO before Ben Shapiro or somebody else tries to take over TPUSA?
I was wrong.
And that was the plan, though. That's what Charlie wanted. She wasn't the board.
And now they have the Sabbath book coming out of Charlie Kirk.
Charlie spent a year talking about the Sabbath. I watched those interviews of him praising the Sabbath.
Yeah, I realized that. I also realized Erika Kirk's father was head of Raytheon Israel. And I also realized they met in Israel. And I also realized...
Well, technically they met afterwards, but...
Okay.
They did not meet in Israel. They met, she went for a job interview with him. That story's been out for ages.
Okay.
Both from them and other people that knew them.
Okay.
When did they meet in Israel? When did they meet in Israel? Again, you're like Candace. You have no answers.
For the next episode, I'll bring it up. Just like I asked you to bring the evidence and you just never got to it.
I brought it. Go watch Phoenix Ammunition.
You never got to it. I asked you to give me it and then you never did it.
Phoenix Ammunition.
Okay, let's keep going here.
But because again, Erika has been making the rounds for Charlie Kirk's Sabbath book, and she did come out today and give an even clearer message intended for Candace Owens. Even she said, oh, is she talking about me? Yes, she was talking about you. From Timcast News, quote, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars every episode going after the people I love. And then we're going to get into Candace's response to what Erika said earlier today.
And for me, personally, she doesn't look authentic here.
For me, I think I'd react pretty similar if anything happened to
She shouldn't be the head of TPUSA because it's a contradiction.
How is it a contradiction?
Her emotions are going to get her emotions are going to get in the way of making business decisions.
But maybe you need those emotions to continue the work that Charlie actually wanted to be done.
But they're opening real estate loan companies rather than going to do debates.
But are they?
Yes,
where's that information? Who said that?
Okay, I can bring it up the next episode. I'm not going to do it on the spot.
Bring it up.
I do, because every time I ask you to bring me information, you never bring it.
I just brought it today.
No, you didn't.
Ammunition.
Okay,
yes,
let's go. That was a couple writings on a sheet of paper. Go back to that.
You have to
post.
watch it. I posted already.
Okay, let's go.
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You don't have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. I do.
Oh, she said Jew.
We have a hell of a team working on this. Excuse my French.
You noticed that too, huh?
But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful and we are human. My team are not machines and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core. So why every single day do they have to be dragged through the mud, analyzed, hyper-analyzed?
You know,
sit in a corner.
And yeah, I just don't think she's the right face for it, straight up.
I think she is, and I think she's doing a better job than.
And she's trying to protect everybody. You can't ask questions about him, my TPUSA family. You can't ask questions.
Well,
You
of
can't
course,
ask
that's
questions.
she's the CEO.
She's getting angry about
That's
it.
what other CEOs have done before as well.
No, they don't come out. They're very
And it's
they're
very,
very corporate in their response.
But Turning Point isn't just a corporation. It was a thing that Charlie built from the ground up, and they were always they were behaving differently than any other company or big.
Now they're behaving like a multi-million-dollar conglomerate that's in over 50 states and multiple nations around the world.
Yeah, because they have to, because they did that.
Yeah, but she's not acting like that. She's not. They should have put an interim into there because situations like this could come up.
Who, Ben Shapiro?
No, not Ben Shapiro. Obviously not anybody from Israel, because too many questions would have arose from that. They had to be very strategic in who they put temporarily into there.
And Rafa says, see, Nat, in the end, everything points to the juice. Apparently. But something that a lot of people in Candace, Candyland, and Cantifa are forgetting about is that she did say not that long ago that if Erika Kirk came out to say stop and stop the investigation, it's not actually helping, she would stop.
You threw in a bunch of clips.
Yes, I did throw in a bunch of clips. And yet, however, she hasn't stopped, because we'll see what she responded today to Erika Kirk's clip that we just watched. But this is what she said a while ago from Eyal Yacobi.
Say this, like, I am on this journey to figure out what happened on that day. I'm not going to stop unless Erika Kirk asks me to stop, as I have said, or my father, or my husband asks me to stop, because truth matters. And I think it is amazing that Erika found it in her heart to forgive. But it is also my belief that there are more people involved that are in need of forgiveness.
So, Candy King, she told you to stop. Stop. But she did not stop. Let's see what she actually said today. And yes, I put in a bunch of clips because all this happened right before we came on air. And we were waiting to see what was going to happen, because now apparently this is all we talk about. But let's see Candace's response to Erika right now. From Ian Miles Chong, quote, Candace Owens initiated. I don't like him, but he had the full clip that I was looking for. And I always say, we grab clips from people that have them. We don't actually, unless we tell you to go look at it yourself.
Let's go. Ian Miles.
I'm not a fan of Ian Miles Chong. But Candace initiated her own broadcast today by dismissing Erika Kirk's desperate plea on Fox News. I wouldn't say it was desperate, but I just needed the Candace response. So let's
play the clip.
I was waiting kind of a situation for her to be in, obviously having lost her husband, becoming the CEO and the chairman of a company. It's just a lot of transition, and it's nice to wait for more information before you prejudge or just make an assumption about somebody and it maybe is not based in reality.
But she did.
Well, we are getting a lot more of Erika Kirk this week. I'll tell you that, because she has been doing the rounds in the media really over the last couple of weeks, and she just gave an interview live with Harris Faulkner on Fox News, where she finally addressed the quote-unquote conspiracy theories. And I have to say this because it's true. but it completely missed the mark. For me, I am sorry, it just has. But the good news is that she is now unmurkying the water in terms of her intentions with this massive political organization. That's good news, truly.
It really does seem like Candace was shaken by, like, she didn't expect for it to be so quickly. But she also asked for, if Erika Kirk is there on December the 15th with Turning Point USA does the whole revealing of information, then she would go. But
no, she didn't say she would go. She said she would beg to go. Hold on. She said she would beg to go. And the fact that she's not going to be there on that day.
She's like a sad little puppy waiting for somebody to give her attention.
And the fact that she isn't bringing it back up and demanding to go now, it's taking a lot of credibility away from Candace.
That too.
So,
well, because she's seen now the response.
She needs to demand to go there and ask the questions.
Because we knew Charlie, and now we are getting an opportunity to know Erika. Plus, later on in the show, it's Knives Out for Tucker Carlson. As always, he's trending right now because he has officially waded into the...
Yeah, then she goes on into the rest of the show. And that was just what she opened with. And I mean, I could just do a breakdown of everything she said during the show today because I had to watch it.
We're not going to do that. Let's keep going into the next story. I'm trying to get through this section so we can get to the news.
Okay. Quickly. Rafa says, I agree with Guy regarding Erika. She doesn't look as authentic as Grecia Quiroz.
Thank you.
I would even say Grecia Quiroz, who, if you're Mexican, you know who that is, Carlos Manso's widow. I would say their responses are pretty similar to each other.
I just find her completely inauthentic. Something seems off to me.
People are saying she's inauthentic.
And not just her, but a lot of people at TPUSA, and that's the issue.
But I honestly don't get why people say she seems inauthentic. I don't
She
see
seems
it.
like an actress that can't act. And
But she doesn't,
I
though.
understand she's a widow, and maybe I'm a bad person for saying all this, but... Huh?
Candace seems like an actress that can't act. And like a jealous bitch.
Candace at least comes. I'll give Candace this, and this is why so many people are following her. She comes off as authentic. Now I'm the one saying I'm the one saying that she works for an intelligence agency, but the intelligence agency has obviously trained her very well.
Not that well. Not that well. Otherwise, not this many people would be doubting her and trying to go against her. Regular people
There's
like
nobody-
me, not the intelligence agency people.
The rabbit hole she's going down, and
Is insane.
The fact nobody else could sell it to the public, but Candace is doing. She's very authentic in the way she comes off.
She's selling it to people with a third grade reading level and wine moms. So I wouldn't really put all that much credibility in her audience right now, who continue to send her money. And after, I wanted to bring that up because you brought it up yesterday.
come on.
Hold on, you brought it that. You've talked more than I have the whole episode because I've been trying to not interrupt you, which is pretty hard to do when you're saying really stupid things. But
Are you a CIA asset?
sure. But what was I going to say? Oh, you brought it up yesterday after her show when she started pleading and begging for money for her own security when, again, who's her husband? He's a multi-billionaire from England.
Yeah.
And now she's saying that Erika Kirk questioning her making money. She tries to turn it back and say, well, TPUSA has made who knows how much money. Of course they have.
Not how much, a minimum of $150 million.
Of course they have, because they lost their leader and people want to support them. That makes sense. Why are people supporting? And where's Candace Owens' money going? Where are all the donations she's getting, all the super chats, all the money now that she needs for her security? Where is that money actually going? What is she actually doing with it? Is she using it to further the investigation? Is she chartering planes to Utah to actually go and speak to people on the ground?
Why does she have to say what she's doing with the money?
Exactly. Why does TPUSA have to? And they have with their filings. Today, the Treasury Department actually had to come out and say that there's no impropriety with the filings from TPUSA, which was one of the big things that all the conspiracy.
You're starting to sound like Candace Owens. Why don't you stick to the point? Because you didn't even explain your actual point, which was a good point until you went into your Candace Owens rant. Your actual point was at the end of Candace Owens' show yesterday, which I actually liked.
The show or the point?
She took away a lot of her credibility at the end of the show. She read a comment, and she's obviously choosing which comments to read. She read a comment saying that you should start a fund for your security detail. And she said, well, actually, I'm going to talk to my husband about that, and we probably will start a fund because we want to get a security team we actually know personally. And her husband's a multimillionaire. Her family comes from massive amounts of money. They have money for security staff. The fact that they're going to start a fund because they're impoverished and they need the public to pay for their security takes credibility away from them.
Well, she also told him that he's spazzing out because he's in financial trouble, which he isn't either. No, none of them have money issues. None of them.
No. And I was looking closely at Tim's views. They're not down. His subscriber base may have went down a little bit, but he's getting the same amount of bots, the same amount of views. So
Rafa says, no, Nat, that's not true. Erika's response seems much more institutional than hers. Grecia is much more emotional and spontaneous. Then again, I mean, not to take away from Grecia Quiroz, who is Carlos Manso's widow, one of the leaders that was assassinated here. Not similar to Charlie Kirk, but kind of, it's easy to make the parallel. But with Grecia Quiroz, I mean, Uruapan is a tiny little, what's it called? Town in Michoacan, and Turning Point USA is a nationally known
hold on.
conservative organization for the youth that helped get Trump elected and that Trump was very connected to. So of course it's going to be a lot more institutional, and she has to run everything through lawyers, I'm sure, just to be sure that she's not, stepping in it like Candace has.
The reason she looks authentic, I mean, I can just point to the interview we had today, but the most inauthentic thing she did when she's standing over Charlie's casket and they're filming her and
How
she's
is that
kissing the hand,
inauthentic?
that should be a moment that's not a public moment. And the fact that she's trying to get publicity to that.
It could also be a way to say, you did this to me, to my husband. Here's his body. Look, this is actually real. To all the people that are saying this isn't real, look at how I'm grieving and suffering over my husband, sending that message. I wouldn't say I wouldn't have come up with it either.
And also, I think she's in a bit of a contradiction. She got up on stage and said, well, I forgive his killer. I forgive his killer. So it was this moment for the media to say, I forgive his killer.
Well,
and now she's demanding vengeance because her killer might get off. Her words are coming back to bite her.
No, she's demanding people let the judicial system actually do its job and do its work, and not to take the jury pool, who by now it's all tainted. Like, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. This already happened. There's no way to untaint anybody, because everybody knows at least a little bit of what's going on, especially if you're in the States. So.
Okay, well, we will agree to disagree. I definitely think she's inauthentic.
But that is one of the few things I never understood, why people kept saying she seems inauthentic.
I thought I was the only one that was thinking this, and at the beginning, I had a lot of sympathy for the situation, so I didn't say anything. It took me a long time, but I was thinking it right from the beginning. And then, so eventually, a lot of other people were saying it, so I'm like, okay, I guess it's fine to say it now. I thought it was like...
But she's also like a pageant queen. Of course she's going to know how to
and an actress, and her husband works for Raytheon.
Her husband?
Or, sorry, her father.
But when was she an actress? I don't think she had any acting background. She had pageantry background, which is a very specific kind of...
She had a, what do you call it? An agent. So she had an acting agent.
Of course, look at her. She's pretty. Because she was in the pageant circuit, of course she has an agent.
Pageant people usually do acting as well, so I'm sure she was taking acting classes. A lot of
I've taken acting classes too.
I don't care if she's taken. She should have took more acting classes because she looks completely authentic and inorganic.
She does look completely authentic.
Huh?
You just said she looks completely authentic.
Inauthentic.
I don't think she does. But in what?
I don't want to talk about it because she's a widow. Why don't we just keep going?
Somebody in the comments just please point out to me a specific moment where she looks inauthentic and why, because I still don't understand where it's coming from.
Okay, let's continue on here.
Hold on, we do have comments. Steve Serfaro, hello, how are you? Thank you for being here. He says, Erika Kirk is a practiced speaker. We're so used to Jazzy Crockett. And that too. I mean, she has given a lot of conferences and stuff. So has Candace. All of these people have been in the public eye for a very long time, so they know how to conduct themselves.
Yeah, and I mean...
And we're just seeing Erika in a bigger,
I don't look
in a bigger space.
None of these people on my look, when I talk about Candace, I can't separate the dots anymore. When I think about Candace, I think about her husband, and she's connected to intelligence agencies. When I think about Erika, I think about her father working for Raytheon Israel. When I think about Nick Fuentes, I think about the January 6th video where he's saying, take down the barriers and disregard the police officers, and then him getting unbanned from social media. When I think about Tim Pool, I'm thinking about Vice News and all the color revolutions he was on the ground for. So it's okay. There's just so much evidence. Like I think it's other actors playing these people like puppets in order to say and do things.
And with that, I wouldn't disagree. Again, with that, I don't disagree. But for next show, bring me an example, like a video or something, where you can stop it and point and say that's where Erika's being authentic.
No problem. We can go back to the red one that you just played.
I closed it.
Okay.
Because I close everything
Oh,
up just so it doesn't
bring me the
overload.
evidence. Oh, I got rid of your evidence. The glove doesn't fit. You can't convict. Okay.
On
OJ.
Friday,
Okay.
show it to me.
Okay, OJ.
Don't forget, because I'll come back to
I
it.
brought you evidence today.
What evidence?
Come on, OJ.
Okay,
let's
hold
go.
on. We have more. Rafa says, by the way, I'm not implying Erika was involved, but I personally know widows that were forced to let things go instead of seeking the truth.
Yeah.
And again, that's I'm not saying that's not possible. I'm just saying I don't understand why people say she's so fabricated. I don't see it.
And I mean, I'll just bring it up. I said I think Candace is connected to MI6. There is connections where Erika Kirk could potentially be connected to Mossad, potentially. MI6 and Mossad work together a lot, so there's still a possibility
That they're
Erika
working
Kirk and Candace Owens are working together to undermine
really off
the
the
Trump
deep end.
administration and the U.S. government.
Now we're off the deep end.
Imagine if I'm right.
Steve Surfaro says, we as a nation are so used to guttural, unrehearsed responses that we perceive organized speaking as inauthentic. And I will also say to the people that say she seems inauthentic, to go back and look at other speeches and other conferences she's been speaking at before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And you'll see that her speaking patterns, the way she addresses people, the way she talks about, heartfelt moments or happy or sad moments are still very similar to what she does today. She's been at a lot of the, what was it called? The women's conferences. You can find her there. She's done speaking events with Charlie as well, and you can see them interacting together. So that's why I say, and I'd seen her before Charlie was assassinated. I think a lot of people hadn't even heard her speak before she had to come out and become the CEO of Turning Point.
I'll say this, whatever the situation is, the fact that we can even ask questions about Erika Kirk and Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes, and the fact that we have this level of free speech right now really does feel good, especially in a social media space, because a few years ago when Biden was in there and the way the UK is treating free speech right now in Canada, if you were to say a lot of these things in a lot of these countries, you would be arrested. So as of right now, I like the free speech space, and it's really being tested by this particular situation. People are questioning governments, three-letter agencies, widows, everything.
And again, I would never say ban any of them or stop them from speaking. I'm just saying there does have to be a pushback, and that is why free speech is so important, to have that debate and that pushback and that laying out of evidence on both sides.
Yeah.
So I do think it is important for Candace to keep speaking, for Tim to keep speaking, for Erika to keep talking, everybody, and Nick Fuentes too, like him or not. I've disagreed with him on most of the things he says, but lately he's been coming out as based to me. So again, don't ban or unplatform any of them.
Well, in the short term, I think Fuentes,
even if they are assets.
like I said earlier in the show, Fuentes has the best game plan on a short-term basis. His long-term vision for the country is completely in the wrong direction. A Christian nationalist, socialist society that follows the Pope, it's a little bit ridiculous. But in the short term, what he wants is America First candidates to get voted in the midterms. And if that means they lose the midterms because they're going to unelect rhino Republicans in the GOP, then that's the way it has to go. They have to make this transition over to America First before the 2028 elections.
And Steve Surfaro says, and thank you for this, Steve Surfaro says, as always, the voice of reason, Nat. Thank you so much. And thank you also I still remember that super chat you sent into WDW Pro, so thank you so much for that.
And I will say this, usually all the TPUSA people are kind of on your side. All the Candace people in the comments are on my side. I don't think the Candace people are going to be on my side anymore because I'm saying she's connected to a three-letter agency.
And again, we're not on sides. There's a lot of things I don't agree with TPUSA. Again, I like TPUSA because of the thing Charlie was able to build and what I see as inspiration to maybe try to do something similar or follow in the footsteps to do here in Mexico. Where here we are just completely lost as to what we're supposed to do and what conservative even means. So I do think the example, and because I followed him almost since he started, is inspiring to me.
But
the organization, I don't really care about.
TPUSA needs to cut all the fat and focus on their core values and their core goals, what they were doing in the beginning, especially in this year running up to the midterms. Mm-hmm. Forget about the housing loans, forget about this division and that division, all the other things they're doing, all the other interviews, focus on the core things. Because they are the voting machine of the Conservative Party.
The youth as well. Like
Yeah.
they have they've had the young people. So Rafa says, remember that a lot of assets used to be in drama and acting classes.
Yeah.
Trudeau, Zelensky.
Yep. Thank you, Rafa. I didn't even think about that.
But again, I mean, I'm sure Candace was too. But,
Oh yeah, for sure.
And again,
at the Daily Wire, she was getting acting classes. That's why she knows how to act. Because before that, she wasn't as good.
No, she wasn't.
And the Daily Wire is known for putting everybody through acting classes. We know that from what happened with what's her name?
Who?
Brent Cooper. When
The replacement?
The replacement for Brent Cooper,
I
they
still
started
don't
putting
know
her
her
through
name.
acting classes.
But again, for example, I took one acting class at college because I needed an elective, and I took another acting class afterwards.
Yeah,
to
but you're not
see if it
good.
would
You're
go
not good at
somewhere.
it.
Oh, thank you. Better than you.
That's because I don't act. I don't need to be good. I'm just authentic.
Yes, you're very authentic with your conspiracies. Steve Surfaro says about 50% of homilies at Mass are organized, rehearsed, practiced. Perhaps that's where both Charlie and Erika learned how to debate and speak. And would you say Charlie seemed fabricated?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, not to besmirch his
no,
name, but just
Charlie definitely wasn't. Charlie was completely authentic. So, yeah.
okay. I was just asking.
Well, no, and I think Charlie did
He did.
debate club, and people that do debate club and UN government in high school are usually the best in the debate sphere. Nick Fuentes is another perfect example of this. He used to do UN debate club.
I was in the UN debate club.
You were?
Yeah.
No, you. Well,
But I dropped off because
Oh, I see.
it was boring.
you're one of those.
And
Failed,
it was a lot. It was too much work.
you're a
for me.
failed state in the
It
UN.
was too much work. Steve Zufaro says Scott Bessent, a gay man, cannot be beat in an economic debate because of his delivery and organized thinking. Erika
Yeah.
is very similar.
Scott Bessent is very good, and the big question marks around him are all those years he worked for George Soros. He was the mastermind behind a lot of Soros's organizations. But I loved him since he's come to the Trump administration. But I have called out question marks from the past.
Yes. Should we finish the Fuentes stuff?
Well, what do you got?
Well, this just goes into why you think he
How many
might
more-
be an asset. Okay, hold on.
Oh yeah, go into this just because. I want to be fair to all sides. When I was calling Tim Pool an asset, I kind of pointed out the evidence. When I called Candace Owens an asset, I pointed out the evidence. I haven't pointed out the evidence on Nick, and I've been really kind to him on the show. I like him overall. I like a lot of his points, but we need to show why I think he's an asset as well.
Okay, from MJ Truth Ultra, quote, why wasn't Nick Fuentes arrested for January 6th like everybody else? Elon Musk says he's a Fed.
And he's the one talking. He's the one with the blowhorn here, and he's already confirmed this.
Yeah!
The way he said it sounds...
Break down the barriers and disregard the police.
The fact that he said disregard,
And then
that sounds weird, I'll admit.
and then you're never arrested, and then then you're completely uncensored after that. And he was an authentic person. He was authentic because he did engage. He was so banned before this point. So obviously he's working for somebody now. The thing is, I think the part of the American intelligence agency he's working for is actually the one that is supporting Trump.
Sorry, I had to... My eye hurts. Steve Zufaro also says, Democrats, emotional intelligence, GOP, organized deliberate oration using the art of delivery and content. But now a lot of people are starting to seem on the other side. Okay, we finally got through the section after almost 2 hours of going at it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That was the last one.
Oh, I'm on the wrong day.
Okay, that's fine.
I was reading my notes for the show, and I was looking at the wrong article. So I was like, where are you?
I'm in the US. So we're going first to US news, more random, regular news. And speaking of Nick Fuentes, let's go with the Pope.
This was actually really interesting as well.
From Marianoffel, quote, Pope Leo checks Trump on Ukraine, says his peace plan breaks the West.
And this is
you want me to
overall
read
why,
through it?
I mean, I don't like Nick Fuentes' vision for the future of America whatsoever. He wants to go down the socialism path where he wants to unite with the left, and he wants to follow the Pope. He said in the past, if you don't follow the Pope, it's not right. That being said, the Pope's a globalist. And a Pope's also a hardcore leftist.
Do you want me to read through it or no?
No, you can just play the clip.
Okay.
What do you think about Trump's peace plan for Ukraine? Do you think it's fair?
I'd rather not comment on it. I haven't read the whole thing. I think, unfortunately, some of parts of it that I have seen make a huge change in what was for many, many years a true alliance between Europe and the United States. The remarks that are made about Europe, also in interviews recently, I think are trying to break apart what I think needs to be a very important alliance today and in the future. So it's a program that President Trump and his advisors put together. And he's the president of the United States, has a right to do that. It has a number of things in it that I think, while perhaps many people in the United States would be in agreement, I think many others would see things in a different way.
What do you think?
And I think that just shows what a globalist he is, because Trump's not against the whole EU. Trump does not necessarily want to leave the EU. There's certain member states that he likes within the EU, but overall, they're extremely woke. They're this globalist organization, and they're trying to dictate to the United States what they can and can't do, and they want a war. I mean, the Pope says no peace. That's kind of what I got from that. No peace, because the U.S. should be aligned with Europe in their approach to this war with Russia. Like, it's ridiculous. It's time for peace. Trump is trying to get there. The EU just won't let Zelensky do it.
And Rafa says to Steve Sufaro, who said the GOP is organized and deliberate, he said, yeah, Trump clearly is organized and emotionally intelligent. I do think he's Trump is very calculated. I think most of his outbursts, if not all of them, are coming from a place of he knows what he's doing. He knows the jokes that he's putting out there. Sometimes things slip and he'll just say random crazy things. But for the most part, I think he's a lot more calculated than I think a lot of people give him credit for.
People can't... People don't know how to approach him. Nations don't know how to approach him because he's completely unpredictable. There's a method to the madness, and it's very easy to manipulate former presidents and get them in line. Trump is completely out of bounds. He's going a completely different direction, getting the global neoliberal order in order, or at least he's trying to. If it doesn't happen with Trump, it's not going to happen with anybody after him. So I really do hope Trump wins the midterms going forward. That being said, I think his behavior is very, very calculated, and I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, and again,
it doesn't always work out.
No.
So it kind of makes him look. It might make him look a little stupid if something doesn't work out. I think he's trying to get a peace plan in Ukraine, and he started surrounding Venezuela in the process, so the neocons would get off his back. Because if he's pulling out of a war, at least he's looking like he's starting another war somewhere else. So the neocons might allow that peace thing to go through. They're not going to allow that thing to go through anymore, it doesn't look like. And I think he's stuck in a real hard situation in Venezuela now. Because he has a large portion of the U.S. military just sitting there off the coast, not doing anything.
Okay, 1 second. Let me grab a different clip because the one you grabbed was wrong. But speaking of war and also Operation, what was it called? Spearhead?
Yeah, pull it up on. I'll bring it up.
From Nick Sortor, quote, video has been released of U.S. forces seizing control of a massive oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. Per President Trump, this is the largest tanker ship ever seized. The DOJ and FBI believe this ship is being used to deliver sanctioned oil from Venezuela to Iran. Pam Bondi said, pretty kick-ass job by the U.S. forces.
Yeah, and they released another statement saying that this oil tanker was going to China. So I think they don't want to say it's going to China. They want to say it's going to Iran, because then it's two countries they're in conflict with. Otherwise, that could mess up trade relations with China. That being said, I don't know if this is such a good idea. I mean, overall, I know the strategy here. The strategy is when the United States tried to war game a war against China, they lost every single time except for one strategy, and that was to cut off shipping lanes, to China at specific choke points around the world. if they actually get away with this, they can start cutting off choke points in different parts of the world as well. They're trying to set a precedent here, I think.
Is there sound or no?
You're the one that grabbed this clip. You said I kind of grabbed the wrong clip.
But you did. And I guess YouTube.
And yeah, this is putting more, they're trying to put enough pressure on Maduro so he steps down. There's other players within this political game that are putting on pressure on him not to step down. And again, there's different allegiances within these intelligence organizations, even within the US, that some of them don't want Maduro to step down or give up certain information that he has. He's been working in cooperation with the US government for a long time on a lot of different things. So he knows where the bodies are buried. It's going to be very interesting if Trump gets any information from him, if he gets him to step down. We're kind of waiting. Trump has put such a huge military force off of that border. It's going to be hard to kind of back it down and not do anything.
And Rafa says, Guy, you're showing too much bad faith towards the Pope. He basically said nothing in that interview.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's backing Europe. I think he likes Europe, and I think Europe wants a war.
And I mean, again, he is the head of a European country, technically, as well. So,
yeah.
I mean, Vatican City is a country in itself.
Yeah, I mean, the Europe can't go to war if the U.S. doesn't back that war. I don't think the U.S. should back Europe right now because of that, because then Europe isn't going to go to war on their own. They know they're not strong enough. So it's going to play that war out and tone everything down. They want to broaden out Ukraine. And even if Ukraine ends, they're going to look to restart something with Russia in the long term. They want to drag the U.S. into this thing. The U.S. wants to start an economic relationship with Russia and take down a lot of these sanctions.
And Steve Safaro says, my friend was CIO DHS under Trump 1.0. He is extremely fast at thinking and delivering, cannot be beat in any debate. His issue is that he believes in people doing their job and firing themselves until he fires them. And again, I do think he's more calculated than a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of his strengths, that people never know which way he's going to, go.
Oh, bless you.
No.
I thought you were going to sneeze.
I was, and then I didn't.
Oh, okay.
The lights make me sneeze and make my eyes water.
And what's the next story? Did you have another story about Colombia?
Yes.
Oh,
so
okay.
also, other than the Venezuela boat thing.
So Colombia is right next door to Venezuela. It goes into Mexico. This whole drug infiltration ring Trump is trying to connect these dots with, why he wants to go into a lot of these countries. Yeah, he's trying to connect.
So from Visegrad, quote, Trump sends message to Colombian President Gustavo Petro. He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up.
He's going to have himself some big problems if he doesn't wise up. Colombia is producing a lot of drugs. They have cocaine factories that they make cocaine, as you know, and they sell it right into the United States. So he better wise up or he'll be next. He'll be next, too. And I hope he's listening. He's going to be next. He's going to.
And, God, what was I going to say about that? Oh, the Colombian president has been coming out and just making radical statements against Trump. He is trying to align a force in South and Central America to directly go against Trump, not militarily, but politically. Trump is trying to connect all these dots with drugs, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it the way So I think ultimately he wants to come into Mexico.
Yes, I mean, I think, again, when we've been talking about that ever since way before he went into Venezuela even, that the intention and the plan and also the whole pause on the tariff talks and the being a bit friendlier, not right now, but friendlier with the Mexican government, with Claudia Sheinbaum, the fact that he wants to negotiate and that probably one of the few sticking points within those tariff negotiations with Mexico is insecurity and the criminal organizations. points to that's his ultimate goal. I
He
think.
wants the Mexican military to kind of work in cooperation with the American military, so it's much more acceptable, but he needs Claudia Sheinbaum on board with that. He also wants to cut off the tail of the snake over in Colombia and Venezuela. The problem is he's going after Colombia and Venezuela first, and if he gets in conflicts or wars in either Colombia or Venezuela, his base isn't going to buy that. He can maybe sell a conflict within Mexico, especially if the Mexican government is cooperating, because it's directly connected to the U.S. on the border. People view Trump as the anti-war president. Small conflicts or skirmishes are okay, but we don't want these forever wars. And if he gets into a drawn-out conflict in Venezuela or Colombia, it's going to be hard to sell his base before the midterms. It's actually going to go make him lose a lot of support, and a lot of people aren't going to come out to the polls if there are major conflicts going on during the midterms.
And we didn't really talk about this. I'll talk about this in my show in Spanish, but Trump did also finally come knocking at the door of Mexico the other day, asking for the water that Mexico owes them and owes the United States. And Mexico has been, I think, has known about this and about the fact that how much water we owe them according to the treaty that we signed back in 1944 with the United States. And they've implemented a bunch of ridiculous laws, and they passed the law that essentially takes water away from farmers and agricultural workers and centralizes it within the Mexican government. What I'm getting at is that now, especially in these past few days, it hasn't been as friendly, even with negotiations, as it had been in the past few months when we were talking about the tariffs and the pause on the tariffs. Hold on. Steve Surfaro says, I agree with Guy about the Pope. This is why Trump has to push for Greenland instead of going through the EU. The Pope is basically the Catholic Church's politician.
Yeah, I actually love the Catholic Church. I love the non-moving moral foundation, and I think it's great for a society. But the direction the Pope and the elites in the Catholic Church are going, I'm not going to hold my tongue. It's completely unacceptable. And even a lot of people that are conservatives or on the right will follow the Pope blindly, and he's obviously a globalist and going in the complete wrong direction.
And Rafa says, unfortunately, this Pope was too close to Francis, but I think Francis was worse.
Yeah, I think that
this one's been keeping pretty quiet.
This is an American Pope from Chicago. They want to set this up for him to go directly against Trump.
Maybe.
Eventually, I think.
Well, we did talk about that initially when he got
and Francis hand-selected him before he died. The conclave went extremely quick. This thing was pre-set up. This guy was ordained to be Pope. And I think they have a bigger plan, and he's remaining quiet now. I think at some point he's going to poke out his head.
Because, Rafa, don't get mad at me for what I'm going to say. But what I think a lot of people don't see, at least on the more Catholic Christian side, especially the Catholic side, and especially here in Mexico, Latin America, places where Catholicism is essentially, I mean, here we have 80% almost of people of faith being Catholics. And in the States, it's a lot smaller, but it's still a big influence. And while we fight and talk about the WEF and the World Economic Forum and the United Nations and all of these non-elected global organizations, we lack always to mention the Catholic Church and the Vatican and the power that it also has over a lot of nations, that it has had over, for example, implementing socialist governments all over Latin America, almost also through the Catholic churches that were there after Vatican 2.0 and the creators of that doctrine, essentially. So why don't we talk so much about the Catholic Church? And I think it's because a lot of people are either of faith themselves or are scared of touching that third rail within the conservative movement. And it's not just in the States, but mostly in Latin America.
Yeah, but the Catholic Church, when they're going into these socialist agendas and things like that, it's coming from the higher up. It's the top down. It's not the Catholic Church as a whole. It's the elites in the Vatican. The Vatican, and specifically the last few popes they've had have just been completely radical.
But this has been going on for decades, since the 60s, 70s here in Latin America.
Vatican too.
Yeah. So, but I think it's something nobody wants to really touch, especially in Spanish and in Mexico, because I see a lot of people kind of circling around it, but never fully diving into it, because it's something you just can't talk about. But I will.
Like conservatism in Mexico, there is no real conservative movement in Mexico, and it's a shame.
Yes.
But all conservatives are Catholics. The problem is, if you're going to start a conservative movement here, you're going to be in direct contradiction to the tenets of what the Pope wants. So you're already kind of split there.
Well, and that's why I think there needs to be a redefinition of conservatism within Mexico, and for us to not fully copy what the U.S., Canada, the EU, all the other countries that have had these resurgences of the right of conservative movements, but at least start to entertain the idea that it doesn't have to be the same way it's been thought of for so long, which is just faith, family, and that's it. And nationalism, I think it can expand a lot further in parallel to that, but not just for it to be that. Obviously, I'm not talking about libertarianism because I don't agree with libertarianism, but Steve Surfaro says, in the course of making very large business deals, you'll see Trump use alliances on both sides alternatively to ultimately benefit his goals. Example, Mamdani meeting Paramount versus Netflix.
Yeah, and he did this, and this was absolutely critical when he had his Middle East peace accords. He was creating a financial relationship between Middle Eastern countries that were more sympathetic to the economic causes and starting a relationship with Israel that could maybe form a long-term peace. It was an absolutely fabulous strategy, and it wasn't something that was used before Trump. Okay, let's go into, we'll just do the Maha story in the US section, and then we'll move to Canada. We'll only do a few stories for each section.
Okay, then I have to prepare it. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay. From Gunther Eagleman, quote, HHS Secretary RFK Jr. delivers on Maha big time, 700 million redirected to regenerative agriculture. Fewer pesticides, healthier soil, more nutrients.
We'll talk about we'll watch the video in just a minute, but this is an absolutely fabulous policy. There's nobody in the administration that's doing a better job than RFK. He is absolutely shining. If he has any presidential hope, he should be able to run as an independent again, a Republican or a Democrat. Anybody would be lucky to have this guy. He's really proved himself through the fire. Even though they're trying to hold him back and put strategic people in place to stop him, they're not able to. He's just too smart because he's gone against big government in the past so many times.
And also, finally, because we were criticizing him a lot when Trump first got elected months ago.
This is the fulfillment of a promise we made in the Maha Report. The Maha Report, which we released 2.5 months ago, has 120 recommendations for how to transition, how to eliminate the chronic disease epidemic and transition to
it's too low. Sorry, I didn't realize the sound on that was bad, but he's basically going to make pesticides and sprays. He's defunding a lot of that, which is fantastic. This is another America First policy. It seems like every single show, since it's been brought to Trump's attention, he's realigning the base back to America First. And every single show we're showing like 2 or 3 stories about that. And there's so many stories I'm just kind of leaving out. Trump is making a huge shift away from his corporatist habits in the first bit of his term and going back to his base because he knows the midterms are coming up. So as long as he can keep delivering, going up to that, he's going to have a good shot. I realize his name's not on the ballot, but he wants America First candidates elected.
And again, yes, going back to his base, but also specifically with agricultural farmers and workers and everything that has to do with food production, which was something that got him a lot of votes through the Maha side. Also with this water thing with Mexico, that also goes towards being able to fulfill growing more crops and actually listening to his farmers who were screaming from the rooftops, hey, you kind of abandoned us over here. We were the ones that initially voted for you all that time ago. So now it is nice to see RFK Jr. also start to fulfill the promises that he also made. I don't know if he'd be good for like president, specifically just because of the questions that arise with him being an independent Republican, Democrat. Who's he going to go with? But
somebody needs to go back into the Democratic Party and try to reform that party. And RFK would
be AOC.
RFK would be perfect for that. I would love to see him. Now they hate him on that side, but with Nick Fuentes talking about a left and a right alliance, people's minds are going to be opened. And if Democrats want to have a good shot, RFK would be that kind of candidate. I would love to see go there.
I don't know how open they'd be for that, but
because I mean, the Republican Party, Trump did a great job reforming that. Now I understand in these last midterms before Trump's gone, they need to get a certain threshold of America First candidates in there. Otherwise, everything Trump kind of built is going to fall apart once he's gone. But the same thing can happen to the Democratic Party. And I think RFK would be somebody that could possibly start that process. It's going to be a long process with the Democrats because I think there's a lot more corruption in there.
And Rafa says, if you think out of the box, right-wingers in Mexico can't be conservatives. We are revolutionaries, yeah, by heart. The only thing to conserve is socialism, since it's what's been going on for ages. And exactly that's why we don't have a conservative anything here in Mexico, because we don't even understand the concept anymore. And ever since the revolution, I would say ever since the independence, there hasn't really been anything that closely resembles what we're seeing in other countries like Canada, the US, the European nations. And specifically speaking about European countries and European nations, for example, with Spain and with what Vox, not that I love everything that Vox has done or does, but they have had a very similar viewpoint of conservatism and of what to do back then. And they were able to move past it and start bringing in the ideas of, I don't want to call it new conservatism because that's an oxymoron, but of what we see nowadays with conservative movements throughout the globe. And so I think it is possible in Latin America and in Mexico. I mean, look at Argentina. Again, not that I agree with libertarianism and Milei, but it is possible. It's just you have to, it's a lot of people to convince.
I think you just need a powerful, candidate like Trump, somebody that people are just going to be drawn to. Milei did it in Argentina. In El Salvador, they had Bukele. In Hungary, they had Orban. In Italy, they had Meloni. You have these these really powerful leaders. And some of them didn't work out. I'll give it that. Or some of them had corruption scandals, but in order to make it work, you're going to need a personality like that. It's not going to happen on a grassroots level without a strong leader. I think the Trump model is the model Mexico would look for. A strong, magnanimous leader that everybody's kind of drawn to, and then build a movement off of that.
And at the same time, again, we need like Charlie Kirk's turning points. We need people on the ground speaking to others. That's kind of what I want to do. But actually building something also from the people and not from being imposed someone, because we know anybody that's involved in politics in general, but especially in Mexico, is corrupt. And then if they're career politicians, they will. That's why Trump also worked, because he was not involved in politics as a politician, but as someone just on the sidelines.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into Canada.
Hold on. Steve Zerfaro says, at CES 2026, soil health will lead to microbial fuel cells that harness bacteria and earth batteries that can deliver LED street lighting. There are 3 Japanese companies pushing soil health to produce electricity.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities with electricity. I'm just so ashamed of the scientific path and the path that the global government took us down with this green energy scam, whether it was batteries or wind and solar, or they tried to get all this investment so they can pocket the investment rather than get real technology that was going to work. We see a lot of this stuff falling apart. I think there's a whole nother layer there that they didn't really go into because it wasn't as profitable. And I think nuclear is definitely the fundamental solution we need for manufacturing and everything else. For the big energy sources, we need nuclear, and then we need other forms of renewable energy that aren't wind and solar, and this kind of bullshit that has to be replaced every 10 years and doesn't really work well.
Yeah, it works on an individual level. Like if people put it in their houses, it will provide you with energy, but it's not.
Yeah, but then the government wants to supply everybody with solar panels, so it feeds into the grid rather than everybody getting solar panels, and it feeds individually to the house.
Yeah. It's a micro, not a macro solution.
Okay, let's go.
Tell me which one you want to go into.
Canada, just the first one in Canada.
Okay, hold on.
And this was an interesting story coming out of Canada. I'll go into a little bit of a conspiracy rabbit hole here, but
another one.
I'm turning into Candace.
Yeah, we're turning into. From Wiretap Media, quote, leaked documents reveal the government plans to train an army of 300,000 citizen soldiers.
And this is the Canadian government. And the Canadian government is the wokest government. People like me, people that would have normally joined the military in Canada, left the country. Anybody that's left there that is normally conservative that would fill military ranks aren't going to fill those ranks. Liberals do not like the idea of joining the military. The reason they want this, and we have to remember what happened during the jibby jab era. They were locking people in their houses, and they didn't have the proper enforcement arm, and they don't have a big military. They want to build up that military if there is another situation, or they have to join the war for Europe. I think what they're going to want to do is fill their ranks with immigrants. Immigrants aren't loyal to the country, don't have any problem arresting citizens in the country or anything else, and they can offer them citizenship and for their service.
Internal documents obtained by CBC News reveal a proposal for a massive new mobilization by Canada's military. They show the Department of National Defence is making preparations to take on hundreds of thousands of reservists and citizen soldiers.
But what we're focusing on in these documents is the 300,000 supplemental reserve that the military would like to create. So these are lightly trained citizen soldiers, for want of a better description. And what these documents do is they paint a picture of how difficult the task is going to be. I spoke with one expert who said this is basically the tallest order the Canadian military has received since the end of the Cold War, because they are looking to buy uniforms, they're looking to buy weapons, they're looking to buy equipment. And where's all of this going to come from when you have supply chains that are already strained, and the Canadian military is having trouble doing recruiting and getting people into just the regular and the permanent reserve forces? So it's a very tall matter. The chief of the defense staff spoke with us. You'll see the story a little bit later. But what she said was that this is very much a work in progress, and that the federal government will see some kind of proposal in the spring.
Yeah, maybe they can make rainbow uniforms and get the LGBTQ community to defend the country, because the Canadian government has done so much for that community. They've rejected the conservatives that would normally fill their ranks, and nobody wants to join the Canadian military. As a matter of fact, Canadian citizens are leaving in mass. They're trying to flood the country with immigrants. These immigrants need citizenship. So I think the Canadian government is going to offer citizenship to immigrants in order to serve in the military. That way, they also have an enforcement arm to take the guns from Canadians. They've already passed laws outlining a lot of these guns. They don't have any way to enforce that. They're going to need a military to do that if they want to push this war over in Europe, which Canada is saying, we're part of Europe, we're part of NATO, we want to go towards this war, and they keep giving massive amounts of money to Ukraine. Canada specifically, per capita, Canada gives the most money because they have such a small population.
And we had spoken about this, but also other, for example, European nations that are doing similar things, and they're starting to talk about ramping up their militaries and ramping up their defense and their security forces. But now it's interesting to see Canada aligning with Europe on that vision as well. And then while some of these leaked documents had come out, and then the Secretary of Defense, and well, not Secretary, but the Premier, whatever they're called in Canada, of Defense had come out to say, no, that's not true, that's not true. Now it's coming back up again, and they're saying, well, yeah, now we need more people. Where are you going to get these people? Who knows? Because as you said, and we said it all the way back in the trucker convoy days, we were saying to each other, who of these people that are here, that are like military-aged Canadian men, would be willing to now go fight for the government that debanked them and that didn't let them protest against the government that wanted to force medical interventions on them? Nobody.
It's obvious where they're going to fill these ranks. And this is going to happen in Europe. This is going to happen in all of these Western countries. They're going to say, we need a military. They're going to give citizenship to immigrants. They're going to then, if the war continues to advance and they have to have conscription, they now have a base military to force conscription and grab people off the streets like they're doing in Ukraine. Who's going to be willing to do that? Who's going to grab their fellow citizen and force conscript them? If they have immigrants to fill up the initial ranks, they have somebody that will actually do that job.
Mm-hmm. And then Steve Safaro says, the cornerstone of those social media arrests is an intelligence gathering tool that scrapes platforms for dissenters to arrest.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Then
again, that's why we don't want digital ID. That's why digital currency is a bad idea.
Let's go into Europe just to cover a couple of stories there, and then we'll go over to RU and BLE. We skipped a bunch of stories today because we were running out of time.
Because again, we said we're going to talk about Candace 30 minutes, and then we.
Well, I think I over prepared for today's show. There was a ton of news.
Hold on, let me just read. Steve Safaro says, one of the companies is Data Miner, actual spelling. I visit them regularly at security trade shows. I think Steve Safaro and Rafa have more in common than they think they do. Now that I'm kind of understanding what Steve Safaro might do. Okay, let's go on to Europe.
Yeah, and I think we have a little bit of different stories. Free speech, digital ID, digital currency has been the big stories coming out of Europe lately. And I think I maybe stayed away from them a little bit today, hopefully, just so it would be a little different.
From Basil the Great, quote, European Union President Ursula von der Leyen announces more immigrants are coming to Europe to prevent illegal crossings. She says we must open new and safe legal pathways to Europe. So
more
now,
immigrants.
Now let's just not make them illegal.
The citizens of
legalize everybody.
The citizens of these countries want no more immigrants. They're loud and they're clear about this. This is across the EU. You might have a small demographic of voters that would want immigrants. They will never put this to a vote because they know it would get voted down in mass. And the fact that she's saying we need more immigrants, this is why you don't want an extra layer of bureaucracy, a government that's unelected doing things that the citizens do not agree with, and the citizens have no recourse for it.
Mm-hmm. And therefore, we must open more safe pathways, legal pathways to Europe. We must create more bridges between our continents. We must make sure that people can find a job where their talent is needed. Match the skills.
Why? We need to bring in talent for jobs. You have citizens.
Exactly.
They want jobs. You're going to fundamentally bring in immigrants, suppressing all the wages in the country, even if it's not jobs that citizens want, which I highly doubt it is. You're going to suppress wages throughout the entire country. Stop letting immigrants in. This is they've been loud and clear about that. The citizenry has. Tensions are rising to a boiling point in the UK and the EU right now.
Skills across our borders. And this is at the heart of our new talent partnership, which offer work rules into Europe. So far, 5 countries have signed up to them, and we hope that more of you will follow. This is such an important model to work on. We have just agreed to create a new talent pool. It will match the European employers and their needs with the non-European job seekers and their skills. And actually, we're launching the pilot of a gateway office in India, so that this will offer opportunities to work in Europe.
You can stop it there. The problem with this whole thing is, we need workers to come work in Europe. All the businesses are leaving Europe. The manufacturing is gone because oil costs and energy cost is so high. All these countries have already fled to the U.S. They're rebuilding their manufacturing in the U.S. Number one, because energy costs are way lower there. Investment costs are way higher. It's easier to get money. But the big reason is there's a war going on in Ukraine that everybody knows the EU wants to escalate this war. It's not safe to have manufacturing in the EU. All these businesses are leaving, yet the EU is claiming, they have so much work for all these immigrants. We don't have citizens that will fill these jobs. It's a lie. Ursula von der Leyen needs to be thrown in jail.
Von der Leyen. But also, it's the whole point of the European Union was to have the European countries be able to, exchange talent and work and money and whatever and trade more freely. Why do they now need to? Now the European Union just wants to expand to every single other country. And again, start acaparando. How do you say that in English?
Yeah,
start encroaching
you have 20,
upon
you have
everybody else.
You have a coalition of 27 other countries if you need workers. But that's not going to suppress the wages enough. So let's bring in some more. And that's not going to be enough violence. So let's bring in some more.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to go to next?
We can go to the Irish Deputy Prime Minister. Okay. He had quite the statement today.
Okay, 1 second. From Disclosed TV, quote, Ireland's Deputy Prime Minister Candace defends the Irish government's allocation of £100,000 to a school program teaching children about white privilege.
The government has renewed funding for the Yellow Flag program, which is operating in schools across the country. And as part of its anti-racism training that it's giving to students, it's teaching them about concepts like white privilege, the idea that all white people have inherent advantages in life because of the color of their skin. Do you think that that's an appropriate thing that children should be taught about in schools?
I'm not sure exactly how it's taught or the detail of the curriculum, but I do know the Amber Flag project, and I do think it's a really important.
Well, the Yellow Flag, sorry,
Yellow Flag project. And I do know it to be an important project that does teach about diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism in our schools. It is an initiative that I'm supportive of. And I do think these things are caught in the appropriate way.
But on the white privilege point, I mean, do you understand why some parents would find that to be a troubling idea that children are being taught to view themselves and others through a racial lens about who has advantages and privileges on the basis of their race? Is that not an inherently racist concept?
No, I do think racism is a reality in our society.
Okay, that's good. And yeah, you're trying to teach these kids racism by projecting this idea of white privilege into the students. You're literally teaching racism. It's absolutely crazy. The fact, I mean, we just showed Ursula von der Leyen, and I understand people don't have any way to unelect her, and there's no recourse to these EU politicians. But people like this, he can be touched. He can be voted out. The fact that they're so disengaged from their citizenry of their country, and they don't understand what their country wants. Their country doesn't want policies like this anymore.
I mean, they also wanted to scrap Catholicism and just bring in Islam teachings.
They're still doing. There's all these policies. They're still
Ireland,
they're just pushing it forward. I think their big plan is they want this Russian war so they can send all the dissenters off to war and push all these globalist policies they want through and build their utopia.
But Rafa has a different version of what could be happening. He says, if you think about it, conscription is a clever way to get rid of immigrants. Or just send all the immigrants to go fight your wars.
Yeah, I don't think that's the plan. I think the immigrants are going to either be left behind because they're not actual citizens. The big possibility, there's a couple ways this can go. One possible way, only the citizens are eligible for conscription. So immigrants aren't eligible. So they'll send the citizenry off to go fight the wars, die, and then the immigrants will be left to breed the women and create a new multiracial society. Or we could have the immigrants drafted into the military, which would create the base layer. Those would be the soldiers that would stay in the country. Then they would do a forced conscription to have the regular citizenry that was there before be forced conscript. But the only way you can have a forced conscription, you need an enforcement arm. So they would need immigrants to do that because citizens conscripted into the military are very unlikely to force conscript other citizens. So you're going to have a breakdown there. And in the enforcement arm, both those are big possibilities. I'm sure they have it all planned out in their global new world order.
Should we go to Ariane Or no?
Hold on.
Do you have another one?
Go to the last one in the EU section, and then that one will continue on to RUMBLE.
Okay. And if anybody is watching me from our Spanish channel, I will probably go on later today as well, around 10, because we're ending at around 8:30. So, yes, it is my fault though, because I was trying to edit something earlier. Okay. From Basil the Great, quote, horrific new data on migrant disgusting crimes. 25% of all sex crimes were committed by foreign nationals in the UK.
Yeah, and these, I honestly believe these statistics are way higher than this. I was looking in statistics for the Spanish military. In Spain, a lot of these soldiers in Spain are now identifying as women to get greater benefits. They get 15% more pay. They get a greater pension. There are all kind of benefits added on, and all you have to do is identify as a woman. A lot of these statistics, like these statistics as well, are being manipulated, and people are being classed as other genders, other races, and things like this in order to try to keep it down. I actually think 25% is extremely high on its own, but honestly, I think it's a lot higher.
Very soon, I don't think the British people are going to be prepared. I'm not talking about rights. I just don't think they're going to be prepared for this stuff to continue. It's abhorrent.
No, and I think, unfortunately, what we are actually seeing is a lot of corners of the establishment are now, rather than tackling the issues that would very justifiably make the British public so outraged, instances such as this, is they're trying to stage manage us. They're trying to control our reactions. They're concealing from us facts, the fact that the Daily Mail had to actually go to court to get such information released, rather than it just being a matter of the administrative process, that we're told what is going on in our country.
And what he's kind of talking about there is the government is concealing a lot of information and data in a lot of these cases. We're going to go into that on RUMBLE after this. This story kind of connects with those ones. Paul, let's continue.
It's indicative that the establishment, which thinks it knows best, is effectively trying to pull the wool over our eyes. We've got a real battle at the moment with proposals that the nationality of someone arrested or charged for an offence be released in the first place. And I actually think those arguing that this information is not in the public interest are doing so from a patronising place of condescension, and actually really only from a position of wanting to hide from the British public what is going on in our country. I mean, we have just enough data now to really understand actually the scale of the problem we do have on our hands here. A quarter of sexual assault and rape convictions last year were carried out by foreign nationals.
Right, let's just stop and let's just take a minute, because I want to be very, very clear about this. I think it becomes a point of debate when people throw out stuff, right? I want facts only. Just repeat what you just said. For all those people who go, well, either, you know, this is outrageous. None of them. There are far more white sexual offenders, or others who go, they're all this, they're all that. No, let's have some fact. What did you just say about rape and sexual crimes last year? 25%, a quarter of them, yes? You have this information, were carried out by foreign criminals, in effect, people coming into this country, yes?
In 2024, yes, and that is, of course, just those crimes for which individuals were convicted. And we know that there are very low conviction rates, and that doesn't take into account the smaller end of that spectrum, actually, the sort of the heckling, the catcalling.
And we have to remember, a few years ago, they completely, the liberals within the EU were completely denying this was even a thing. They said that these grape gangs were completely made up. I was literally watching clips of it today. I wish I would have grabbed it. I didn't. We had too many stories, but it was a clip farm of all these news organizations saying, this is made up. You're racist. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. And then all those organizations have to admit that this stuff is going on now because this data is coming out. And I think it's still manipulated data, and that the data is actually a lot higher. We showed stories over the past few months about how the EU has been manipulating data in a lot of different things, and because it's not getting, they can't pass the legislation they want if the data is showing certain things. Okay.
Now we go over to nah, it doesn't work. So I'll do it over here. But now we're going to go over to RUMBLE to finish off the spicier stories that we can talk about here on YouTube. And I will say, please, if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, please do so. It really does help us out. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We also will start having some more edited content and more regular content coming up on this channel as well. But
by the way, yeah, we made a bunch of clips yesterday we're going to release. We're so used
edited videos.
We're so used to doing lives. I think the first batch is going to be pretty bad. But we'll get better over time. I'm much more comfortable on the live than I was on the clips yesterday.
And we want to do stories that we don't talk about on the live. So we were not just clipping things from the live to then make as edited videos, but actually like just other information and stories. And thank you so much to Rafa, who else talked? Rafa, Julia Collins, and Steve Surfara for all your comments. I will remind everybody we do read them all. If you want to come debate, discuss, tell us we're wrong, especially if you're a Candace fan, you are more than welcome to do so respectfully, but we do reply to all the comments and we do read them all.
Okay, let's head over to RUMBLE and I'm going to fix the camera.
Before we go, I'll go on me. Before we go, Rafa says 15% more pay, 80% less combat efficiency. And maybe that's just what they want. They just want fodder and people to put on the front lines to, you know, serve as sandbags, essentially. So maybe that's why. Okay, now the guy has fixed the camera. Again, he is the producer here. I'm the editor. So.
Okay, try to go to the other camera, see if it works.
There we go. Okay, so now we are going over to RUMBLE. Thanks so much, Julia Collins, Steve Safara, and Rafa. You can follow us over there to continue the last few stories. And for my Spanish show, again, it will go on a bit later today.
Okay, let's head over. And I think the stories were pretty racy today, so.
I thought you said racist.
Yeah.
Okay, which one do you want to go to?
The first
we're just
one.
doing them all.